Thank you. My name is Dana Waring, and I'm the Education Director for the Personal Genetics Education Project. And, you know, I'm glad that this question has really sort of been a topic today, which is essentially, as I see it, how do we engage and prepare the public for both the promises and the challenges in personal genetics? Last night, we were really honored and thrilled to be able to bring together about 40 people from a range of educational organizations. We had folks here with us from the NIH, the Genetic Science Learning Center, the Genetic Alliance, the National Council of La Raza, Mary's Center, museums, educators, the National Society of Genetic Counselors. I could go on and on. Cold Spring Harbor. And you know, in an effort to work together to create a plan to accelerate the pace and the scope of genetics education. You know, we realize that when you get 40 educators in a room, one of the things you're going to get are many deeply held, passionate opinions. And for me, that was really inspiring, that the care and the compassion that people have for this subject, even though we're taking very different paths, and some of those paths, you know, are continuing to change and evolve. You know, we were able to agree on a couple of things, including the fact that, you know, that a key component of this work is building trust in the communities where you are working. That family history can still be an incredible tool to engage people with genetics. You know, we often talk a lot about genetics, you know, and this idea of talking with your relatives and getting people interested in this subject in that way is still a wonderful approach. We also talked about things like that marketing and branding and gaming, and the movies can also be our friend. You know, part of my mission here today is to highlight some of the work we're doing, but also to invite you to work with us a little bit, and I'm going to talk more about that. What we do at the Personal Genetics Education Project is we both create curriculum around the scientific and social issues in personal genetics, and then we get out and we teach it. And I understand that we have got some high school students here with us today from the Edward Kennedy Academy for Health Careers. Is that correct? Yes, hello. Do we have other, hi, do we have other high school students? Are you all, where's your school? Well, welcome. We're glad that you all are here, and hope that we'll be able to either talk with you here or talk with you a little more later in the day. You know, our area of focus is teenagers, and you know, we really love working with this age group. We feel like that they are the ones who will be able to benefit from so many of the things that we're talking about here today, and they are also the ones that are going to have to make sense of sort of some of the personal questions that are going to come with it, as well as some of the policy questions, that sort of thing. I would add, if you are ever in the market for some honest and unfiltered feedback about your work or presentation style, go visit some high school students. Because they're going to let you know how it is, how you're doing, whether or not they care about what you're saying. And so I would advise, spend some time in your local high school if you are looking to sort of improve your communication skills. And so, you know, we spend a lot of time talking with high school students, but we also, you know, we travel all over. This year we've been we've been in San Francisco, we've been in rural Maine, and the one thing we see consistently, and every time we go out and talk with people, is this huge diversity of opinions. And, you know, we work hard to sort of present multiple dimensions of any issue, but it is certainly a challenge. You know, we hear from students that are hoping that they are old enough to sign up for the PGP. Right, what is the age limit? That is, if it's 21, I think. Many feel that is too old, some of the students we talk with. You know, last week we talked with, 2 weeks ago, a student who was here at Harvard for a lecture, and she shared with us that she was really sort of unconvinced that personal genetics is going to provide her with some of the benefits that we're talking about. And in fact, she had sort of concerns that it could be used to perpetuate sort of, old or even new societal injustices that have been a part of her community for a long time. We continually field questions about the intersection of reproductive genetics and faith. And we also, meet legitimate resistance sometimes where people are saying, I don't have my basic health needs met. You gotta do a better job of convincing me about why I need to care about this. When we talk with student athletes about, the possibility that, there may be some information in your genome that could help inform training programs or injury risk. You've heard about some of these companies. I do not usually get a group of offensive linemen waiting to chat with me. Usually the point guards and the right wings on the hockey teams are not, they're not dying to talk to me. But when we talk about genetics as it relates to sports and their bodies and some of the choices they might be able to make, we get a crowd every time. And, that gets us sort of back to some of the points that people made earlier and certainly last night, that you have to go to where people are with some of these issues. And much like the theory that informs pharmacogenomics, the one-size-fits-all 30-minute education presentation isn't always as effective as it could be. We find that highly tailored, specific, one-on-one interactions are what work best. And of course, that presents issues of scalability, as many of us here struggle with that. And so this is where you come in, that we need more people engaged in this work of education. Many of you have incredible experience and creativity and investment in personal genetics, and we are asking you to carve out a little bit of time to maybe talk with a wider audience than you normally might. We're on the hunt for all sorts of creative methods that reach all corners of society. You see the button that you're giving away, it worked on me. Mine says loud sneezer. We're, talked everything about, taking over your local book club and youth soccer sideline and office birthday party, right? Social networks, you go to where people are. Retirement communities, religious organizations, your kid's pediatrician office. Movies and TV, pop culture, these are ideas that are very, we think are something that we're going to have to really do better to make those, build those bridges and make those connections. But our point is that informal education can happen anywhere, and that widening the net through education is going to be crucial for the success of personal genetics and for programs like the PGP. Later today, over the lunch hour, Chris Corey and I, Chris is a PGP participant and a genetics professor, are leading a session today at 1:15 in the NRB in room 258 to talk a little bit about some of the experiences people have here as they might inform the education agenda and ways for you to join us and work with us. So again, it's 2:58, it's at 1:15, so you'll have time to grab your lunch. And that we hope that we will be able to share some tools with you and get some, have an exchange of ideas. So thank you, and we hope we will see you later.
Do you have any questions? Yes, sir.
Is this on? Hi. Thank you, Rodrigo Martinez with IDEO. So I'm a big supporter, proponent, participant, everything. But it just cringes my skin when I hear you say we need to educate the public. Because we need to educate the scientists, the doctors, and others to understand it is not just about the science and the medicine and the drug and the treatment. So every chance I have in my role as designer to bridge between all the amazing things that happen in a lab and people, I try to make that point. We need to educate as much what happens inside to be able to explain carefully, clearly, and engaging, and
Yes.
that is half of it. Otherwise, it just doesn't make it on the other side, and we need it on the other side, but we need to change that paradigm of we need to educate the people.
Well, right, and this is something that we, to your point, right, that we understand that this is the idea that like, I've got this idea and I'm going to go out and tell everyone it's a good one is sort of an old idea. And you said you're a designer, like a graphic designer? Okay, like a visual communicator. Is that what you meant?
I do different things in the health space to try to make it a better experience.
Right. I mean,
And probably, you know, and the reason I bring this up is because the practice of medicine and healthcare probably has one of the worst experiences of any industry we still have.
yeah.
Even
mean-
banks have gotten it better. Even insurance company has gotten it better.
Yeah,
And we do not pay attention to that. So I think this is why I bring it up when I hear, no, let's not talk about educate the people. No, let's get into dialogue so that we can also express these amazing things that you guys are doing here in a way that people get, yeah, I get it, I want to be part of it, as opposed to, what?
Well, we get a lot of what in our experience. And I mean, I would also, I mean, I don't disagree with you that this is a multi-pronged project we're talking about here, and that there's, you know, we sort of had this debate about, you know, we would like this to go faster, right? Many of us want this to go faster. And some of what you're talking about and some of what I'm talking about, you know, there's also a very serious sort of long-term set of challenges.
Hello. It's on? No, I'll just speak loudly. My name is Portia, and I'm a student at Kennedy Academy. I'm an AP biology student. Next year I'll be studying biology at Hamilton College. And I just kind of wanted to know, how does all the information that you guys have been giving us today, how does that change how we will learn things in biology and education in the future? And how do you make that appealing to us?
Well, I would open this, I think this question could be opened up to the group for one. I mean, I know in our work, we often try and not be there the whole time talking. That's exactly it, is that, you know, there's still this, the scientific community is still, I think, learning about what it is that, you know, how it is that this is relevant for you. I would say that we are still working hard on that. Does anyone else want to speak to this question about making, you know, some of the work that is being talked about here today relevant for younger people? Is that a fair assessment of your question? A fair?
I would say that from my perspective, where I stand in the world, all of this whole genome sequencing is kind of like the internet in 92, 93, before it really hit. So in the next year and a half or so, this, I think, will become a big deal very quickly. And once it becomes cool, then, you know, all of the genetic literacy that we kind of want for our patients and our doctors and everybody else will kind of develop quickly, I think. I think within 5 years, the landscape will look much different.
And I think, too, just as a reminder that we are sort of going to continue some of this conversation at 1:15. And what time is your talk? It's a workshop, though, 3:15. So there's a couple of opportunities for more conversation.
And just to add something to that, I mean, it's really a challenge at this point, because one of the reasons you have difficulty in reaching people is because the utility is really very difficult at this point. I mean, you're right on the edge where you're collecting a lot of information, and the price points are coming to the point where it becomes relatively easy to collect enough information on enough people that you get very useful things that come out of it. And so it's just going to change the whole shape of medicine and the whole shape of the way we deal with our health. I mean, it's kind of like in 10 years, you won't be asking the question of why people are interested or not, though, automatically. It's just like the internet. People were asking initially. I mean, everybody who thought they understood the internet was talking initially about how are we going to get all that content out there? Will there be huge conglomerates that will make television for the masses? And nobody had a clue as to how it was going to develop, and I think the same thing is going to happen with this.